Ukraine's President Zelenskyy met with King Charles just 2 days after his blow-up with President Trump in the Oval Office. The UK is pledging $2 billion to Ukraine. However, Prime Minister Keir Starmer says all European countries must contribute to making a deal with Russia. Watch.
In the event of a peace deal, we will keep boosting Ukraine's own defensive capabilities to deter any future invasion. The UK is prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air. Together with others, Europe must do the heavy lifting. But to support peace in our continent and to succeed, this effort must have strong US backing.
A retired Force Guard General Jack Keane joins me now. General, is there a split here between the US and our NATO allies that is actually weakening NATO significantly?
Well, I think what the European allies are doing is two things. One is shoring up the relationship they have with Zelenskyy after the blow-up in the Oval Office that took place at the press briefing. So that's one thing. The second thing is that they're really making certain that they're going to provide increased support to Ukraine in terms of weapons and money, and also a number of the countries are willing to put boots on the ground if there is a peace agreement. And noteworthy and missed by a lot of people, in that press briefing, President Trump, when discussing this issue, and the issue was British and French are willing to put troops in as peacekeepers after we have an agreement, and conceivably we could. If that press briefing hadn't blown up in the dispute that took place, what I just said would have been the headline, because that is different than everything President Trump has said about boots on the ground in Ukraine. And I underscore this. It makes a statement that he tried to tell Zelenskyy, look, I don't want to define what security guarantees are before I negotiate a deal with Putin. I want to put those together after I have an agreement with Putin. But he made that concession at the press briefing that we're all very much familiar with now.
Yes. As an aside, I'm sure you watched that Oval Office blow-up. What did you think when you were watching it?
Well, I watched it 3 times, yeah, and I have considerably more information about it from sources within the administration. They know now. There was a 20-minute briefing that took place prior to that, which is pretty normal, with all the people in the room that you saw, except for the press. Zelenskyy did not lay out any of those grievances in detail at that meeting. It is now well known that Zelenskyy and his chief of staff, Yermak, came into that meeting calculated and pre-planned to lobby the international media and the American press about the grievances and differences they had with President Trump. And that is what you saw going on. Zelenskyy was not asked a lot of questions, but he did most of the talking because he wanted to get his points across to who? He was lobbying the media to put pressure on Trump to get some concessions out of him at a later date. Absolutely misguided in every sense of the word in terms of what he was doing, manipulating the president. And that is why the administration is really frustrated with him, because they believe, look, if you disagree with us, fine. But why didn't you bring all of this up in the private session we had 20 minutes prior to the press briefing? They told him the press briefing was going to be about, this is a feel-good moment. We're going to sign a deal after lunch. It's good for the United States. It's good for Ukraine. Thank the American people. Thank the President of the United States. We're both moving together towards a peace agreement if Russia's going to cooperate. That is kind of what the administration had in mind. And look what we got.
Yeah.
We got a lecture on the differences between Zelenskyy and President Trump.
Is there any way that Zelenskyy could come back and say, I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm deeply grateful to the American people, I'll sign the deal? Any chance of that?
Yes, very much so. That night, after it all blew up, I was in contact with his chief of staff, and he told me then, this is Yermak, who was in the briefing, obviously. He said, hey, we're ready to come back and sign a deal. And I said to him, that's impossible if you don't reconcile first with the president, send a note to him or pick up the phone and call him. That is what has to be done. All of the European leaders publicly supporting Zelensky, most all of them have told him privately, get on with reconciling with President Trump, sign the deal. It is a good step in the right direction towards eventually testing the waters with Putin to see if he's really willing to compromise. And we don't have that answer yet. Okay. So, yes, there's still a possibility of this actually happening.
That's fascinating. I'm going to change the subject real fast. Defense Secretary Hegseth reportedly ordered U.S. Cyber Command to stand down on all offensive cyber operations against Russia. Why are we doing this, and why are we doing it now, General?
Well, I can only speculate that it's likely to make Putin understand that we are serious about wanting to make a deal. But here's what I do know, is that it was the Trump administration that gave Cyber Command new authority so they could respond to an attack without having going all the way up the chain of command. By then, the ability to stop that attack could be over. We're talking about network speed here, right, Stuart? And as a result of that, in 2018, Cyber Command re-attacked Russia when they attacked us trying to undermine the election. They did the same in 2020, both successfully shutting them down. That was the Trump administration, and they permitted the Cyber Command commander to announce that he had done both of those things. Russia has conducted massive cyber espionage and information campaigns inside the United States now, in addition to ransomware activities against hospitals and other things that are taking place. So it is surprising we're pulling back from that. I think it's temporary, is what I'm speculating, to push Putin towards making a deal, I believe, is likely the motivation.
This is fascinating. You know, a great deal of stuff, shall we put it like that, General, and thanks for sharing it with us. We appreciate that. We'll see you again real soon.